There's a quiet tragedy that plays out every day in the minds of people who believe they're doing the right thing. They swallow their anger. They silence their instincts. They tell themselves, this is what a good person does. But let's stop right there, because that idea is a lie. There's a dangerous confusion that ruins lives, and it's this: the belief that to be good, you have to be soft. That being kind means never upsetting anyone. That being virtuous means being obedient, passive, quiet. Let me be clear, this isn't kindness. It's not strength, it's not noble, it's self-betrayal. And until you realize that, you will keep playing the role of the emotional doormat, the person everyone praises, but no one respects. The person who's always available, always agreeable, and always being used. Now, true kindness, real kindness, it doesn't come from weakness, it comes from power, from having the strength to say no, to set limits, to protect your own peace without asking for permission. But we've been taught to feel guilty for that. We've been trained to believe that being nice is the highest virtue, and so we try to earn our worth by being easygoing, forgiving, flexible. We think if I'm good enough, patient enough, selfless enough, maybe one day the world will notice. But here's the truth. The world doesn't reward sacrifice. It rewards clarity, and clarity starts when you stop lying to yourself. When you stop pretending that being agreeable is the same as being good. When you stop silencing your inner voice just to keep the peace. Because if your version of being kind means letting people walk all over you, if it means swallowing your truth, if it means pretending you're fine while slowly rotting inside, that's not kindness, that's submission. It's emotional slavery dressed up as virtue, and it's killing your self-respect. Machiavelli, yes, the same guy people love to call cold and calculating, understood this better than most. He didn't hate virtue. He hated naivety. He saw how good people get chewed up by the world because they don't understand power. Because they believe that if they're nice, the world will be fair in return. But the world isn't fair. It's predatory. And in a world of predators, kindness without strength is just bait. This is why being good, really good, means being strong. It means being able to say, I choose to be kind, but I will never be controlled. I choose to forgive, but I will not be walked on. I choose to love, but I will not abandon myself in the process. Because self-sacrifice without balance becomes self-erasure. And what's left after that? Resentment, exhaustion, a hollow shell of someone who once had boundaries, but forgot where they put them. Let me ask you something. How many times have you said yes when everything inside you screamed no? How many times have you bitten your tongue, smiled through the disrespect, and told yourself you were just being mature? How many times have you let guilt convince you to give more than you had? The truth is, most people who are too nice are not doing it from virtue. They're doing it from fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being rejected if they ever showed how they really felt. But what kind of life is that? What kind of strength is that? Being a good person does not mean being spineless. It does not mean handing out endless forgiveness to people who keep hurting you. It does not mean staying silent when something feels wrong. Being a good person means you choose your battles, and you choose yourself in the process. So here's the question that breaks the illusion. Is your kindness protecting you, or is it exposing you? Because if your version of being good involves tolerating disrespect, accepting crumbs, and blaming yourself for being angry, then you are not being virtuous. You are being controlled. This is what Machiavelli was warning about. Not that you should be cruel, but that you should never be naive. And if you've been living your life hoping that being soft and agreeable will lead to respect, then you've already seen how that ends. You become the person who's always there, always helping, always saying yes, and slowly disappearing into your own silence. But there's a middle path, a place where you don't have to become hard and bitter, but you don't have to be a pushover either. It starts with courage, it starts with honesty. It starts when you finally say enough, because there's a reason you're exhausted. There's a reason you feel like no one sees the real you. It's because you've buried yourself beneath a mask of goodness, hoping it will buy you love. But love built on suppression is not love, it's compliance. So let me offer you a new way. Be good, but be powerful, be kind, but be sharp, be generous. But never empty yourself for people who wouldn't even pour a drop for you. You don't have to become heartless to protect yourself. You just have to stop being spineless. And that's the shift that changes everything. In the second part of this video, we'll go even deeper. We'll talk about how to stop being nice without turning cold, how to break out of this psychological prison without losing your soul. Because this isn't just about self-help, it's about reclaiming your power and learning that the most dangerous lie you ever believed was that being loved meant being less of yourself. So if you're ready to stop being the doormat, if you're ready to stop being the peacemaker at the cost of your own peace, then stay with me. The real transformation begins now. So maybe now you're starting to see it. That good person mask you've been wearing? It's heavy, it's suffocating. And deep down, you've always known it doesn't fit. You've been stretching yourself thin to meet expectations that were never yours to begin with. You've been trying to be liked, accepted, validated by people who wouldn't even notice if you collapsed. But the real you, the version of you that feels anger, has sharp instincts and sees through the fake smiles, that version is not the enemy. That's your strength trying to wake up. And if you're going to get out of this cycle of self-abandonment, you need to stop making yourself small just to be good. Because the truth is, trying to be a good person by other people's standards will kill who you really are. It'll kill your voice, your instincts, your fire. And over time, you'll look in the mirror and see someone who used to have boundaries, used to have standards, used to have spine. That's the real cost. See, people-pleasing isn't just annoying. It's not just being nice to a fault. It's a survival tactic you learned when you were young. Maybe you grew up in a house where love had conditions, where being calm and quiet was how you avoided being punished, where being useful was the only way you got affection. So you learned how to shapeshift, how to read the room, how to anticipate everyone else's emotions before your own. And that's when you made the silent decision. I'll be good, even if it hurts. You didn't know it then, but that choice would follow you into adulthood. You'd take jobs where you were overworked and underpaid, stay in friendships where your needs were invisible, date people who took and took and took, while you kept pouring. Because somewhere deep down you believed that if you just gave enough, eventually at least someone would give back. But here's the Machiavellian truth you were never told. No one respects the person who gives themselves away. Respect doesn't come from self-sacrifice. It comes from self-possession, from holding yourself with authority, from saying, I'm not afraid to walk away, from knowing exactly where your line is and making sure others know it too. That's what Machiavelli understood. Power isn't about cruelty, it's about control. Control over your decisions, your time, your energy, your boundaries. Because when you don't control those things, someone else will. And if you think kindness alone will protect you, you've already lost. Because kindness without discernment is dangerous. It opens you up to manipulation, to exploitation, to one-sided loyalty. And the worst part? You'll keep blaming yourself for not being good enough, when the real problem is that you never asked whether they were good enough for you. It's time to flip that script. You don't need to prove your worth through sacrifice. You don't need to earn love by being low maintenance, always available, drama-free. You need to realize that people will treat you based on what you tolerate. And if you tolerate disrespect, if you keep shrinking to make others comfortable, if you keep handing out chances just to keep the peace, then you're not practicing love, you're practicing self-erasure. So how do you stop? How do you break this cycle without becoming cold or bitter? Here's the answer. You don't become heartless, you become sharp. You learn to say no with no apology. You speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. You walk away the moment someone treats you like an option. That's not rude, that's not mean, that's not selfish, that's standard. You're not here to be digestible. You're not here to be someone's emotional punching bag. You're not here to be nice while you're quietly dying inside. You're here to be whole, and wholeness requires boundaries. Because if you don't guard your energy, people will waste it. If you don't name your needs, people will ignore them. And if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He wasn't telling you to be cruel. He was telling you to stop relying on love alone. Because love that's not backed by strength is fragile, and power that's not backed by principles becomes tyranny. You need both, the warmth to connect and the backbone to walk away, the openness to love and the discernment to protect it, the courage to be kind and the strength to enforce your limits. That's the balance, that's the key. And that's how you stop being a prisoner to your own goodness. Because what the world doesn't tell you is that you don't have to choose between being kind and being powerful. You can be both. You can be gentle and unbreakable. You can be generous and guarded. You can be compassionate and completely unwilling to tolerate disrespect. You can be the kind of person who gives but never begs, who listens but never silences themselves, who cares but never carries what isn't theirs. And once you taste that, once you feel what it's like to move through the world without needing approval, you'll never go back to begging for it. You'll stop asking for permission to be yourself. You'll stop over-explaining your boundaries. You'll stop apologizing for wanting what you want. And suddenly life won't feel so heavy, because you'll realize that being a good person was never about being passive. It was about being true, and the truest version of you isn't soft-spoken and exhausted, isn't agreeable to the point of invisibility, isn't bending over backwards just to feel worthy. The real you is clear, bold, unapologetically honest. The real you doesn't ask, do they like me? You ask, do I respect myself after being around them? That's the shift, that's the freedom, so stop playing the part. Stop trying to be a good person in a world that rewards clarity more than kindness. And start being the kind of person who doesn't need to be liked by everyone, because you already like yourself. If this message hits something in you, if you're tired of being the nice one, the fixer, the emotional sponge for everyone else, then it's time to reclaim your space. And if you want more content like this, real talk grounded in strategy, psychology, and power, subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell notification so you never miss a video. Like this one if it helped you shift your mindset. And drop a comment. Let me know what you're choosing to stop tolerating from now on, because your silence was never the answer. And the moment you stop trying to be a good person is the moment you finally become a free one.